I'm Peter Byck. I'm a filmmaker and a wrangler of scientists. My team and I have been focusing on solutions to climate change since 2007, and in 2012 we focused in on soil health. In this 17-minute sneak peek of Season 1, I get to spend time with Alllen Williams, farmer, scientist, and teacher of regenerative agriculture. Please join midstream as we connect the dots between soil health and human health. So Alllen, as I've met you, I've learned how everything connects to everything else. But now I'm learning foods that taste really good, whole, natural foods, that taste is actually nutrition. That so many things are now tied to, like, soil health equals our gut health, equals our brain health, and that fats aren't bad. That was just some weirdo who said that in the 60s and everyone believed him.
Right.
Our brain's made out of fat.
Yes.
We need fat.
Our brain should be bathed in cholesterol, just like an engine has to be bathed in oil. If we lack good fats in our brain seizes up just like an engine seizes up in the absence of oil.
Right. Now, we're finding out with Fred Provenza's work, Stefan van Vliet's work, that we can measure nutrient density, right?
Yes.
We're measuring the nutrients in the food, and so now we're really bringing it into human health. Soil health, animal health, human health, planet health. So what's happening with that now? Because it's getting good right now, right?
It's getting really good.
Yeah.
And this excites me quite a bit. So with Dr. Stefan van Vliet and his team of researchers, which does include Dr. Fred Provenza and others, we are doing very, very in-depth phytonutrient analysis.
What does phytonutrient mean?
So phyto, obviously plant.
Not obviously. I'll
But
take your word for
phyto
it.
is plant.
Thank you.
Okay. And we know what nutrients mean.
Yep, I got you there.
So what we're talking about is nutrients that are derived from plants.
Got it. Okay.
And so when we're looking at phytonutrient profile, we are looking at an entire array of nutritive compounds that are very powerful and that are very, very beneficial to us. They contain a lot of medicinal compounds, and we're looking at more than 2,000 different nutritional spectra. So let's think about this. So every food product today typically has a nutritional panel.
Right.
On the back of the product, right?
Yeah. Carbohydrates, sugars, fats,
it has
calories,
fats, carbs, sugars,
salt,
protein.
sodium. Yeah.
Okay. But that's it. That's it. So we've been led to believe that that's the sum total of nutrition, and that all I got to do is look at that, and if that looks good, whatever good is on that, well, we're in good shape. But the fact of the matter is that nutritional panel can make an absolute junk food look very healthy. And consumers are making decisions based off that.
We're all looking at that
So it's very
panel.
erroneous.
We're all looking at that panel.
Right.
It's like painting a Rembrandt painting through a screen door with 4 colors. It's just not accurate.
It's not accurate.
Yeah.
So what we have discovered is that nutrition is far, far more than just that, proteins, fats, carbs. Okay? Nutrition equals far more than that. That's just scratching the surface of nutrition. The phytonutrients are where it's really all at. That's what encapsulates our real health. So why? Why? Because these phytonutrients are the things that are loaded in antioxidants, anti-inflammatories, anti-cancer, antiviral, antibacterial. These phytonutrients are what are loaded with all of those types of things. So we know that if we eat a lot more antioxidants in our diet, if we're eating foods that are not inflammatory, that actually lower inflammation in the body, we're going to be far healthier. Every disease known to man, every disorder known to man originates through inflammation in the body. the only question then is what kind of disease or disorder will that inflammation manifest itself in my body or your body?
Right.
Right? It may be different
Which could be very
individually.
different.
Exactly.
Which is why some folks maybe shouldn't eat meat.
Exactly.
And some folks, you better eat meat.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone's different.
Everyone is different.
Yeah.
So having this phytonutrient knowledge is critical. And what we are absolutely seeing is that the soil matters, okay? Particularly the biological activity and biological richness of that soil matters. Yep. The plant diversity matters, how diverse the plant species growing in that soil matters. Mm-hmm. And then if we're eating animal proteins, okay, then that soil and that plant species diversity manifests itself very quickly into a much richer phytonutrient profile
of that meat.
Or those eggs or that dairy product, whatever it is.
Or the chicken. So it's all connecting.
It's all connected.
And what's really cool is it's going back too.
Yes.
So if you have an animal, let's just say a cow, eating from great soil.
Yep.
Huge diversity in the microbial life.
Yep.
Eating plants, great diversity there. So that animal's choosing its diet, balancing its own diet. We know that's what it's doing, if given the option.
Yep.
And then it's eating, right? Well, we know because I know because you taught me, the saliva from that animal is giving back all sorts of information and nutrients back to the plant, back to the soil.
There you go.
So it's definitely a very much a cycle.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So then every farmer I know, this is just the way it is. When I say, hey, can I go use the restroom? Can I pull up a tree? They're like, yeah, go fertilize my farm. Thank you. I'll take that. Mm-hmm. Right? Because then they don't have to buy it. Right. Whatever's in my urine or whatever. And the fact that it's all cycling both ways. So I first heard about this from David Johnson. That summer that I was meeting all the scientists that then became our team. Mm-hmm. Hour-long conversation with everybody except for you and David. I'm on the phone with David for 2 hours until one of my deans calls me up for a meeting, or I would have been on the phone with David for 3 hours. But what David was showing was once the soil carbon levels got up to 5%, that the plants weren't mining the system anymore. The plants were giving to the system, knowing they'd be getting everything they needed from the system.
Yes.
Because once that carbon level was up enough, it was enough food for enough microbes, right? And then you know that if you've got enough different types of plants, you've got this whole host of diversity from the microbes. And so I say all this right now because that's the engine that's then feeding the phytonutrients that you're talking about.
That's correct. It's a positive feedback loop that's working here. And the beautiful thing about this research, it is the most in-depth nutritional research ever done, ever attempted. Because what Dr. Van Vliet and his team are doing, and we've been participatory in this on our own farms and helping collect all this data, is that we start literally with the soil. So we're collecting soil samples and analyzing that, collecting all the plants. So we're physically watching what the animals are eating and even what part of the plants they're eating and collecting that so that we get a very accurate analysis of what's going into their bodies from these plants, okay? And so we're analyzing the soil, we're analyzing the plants, then we're collecting fresh fecal matter from these animals and analyzing that, and then analyzing the end product itself, the meat, the milk, the eggs, whatever it may be, and then even taking this one step further and doing human clinical trials. There's never been human nutritional research that has started literally with the soil up. Has never happened before. So this is an incredible undertaking.
Yeah.
You know, and that makes this data unbelievably powerful and robust and truthful.
Right.
So we're not having to extrapolate and wonder what was happening on the farm or whatever that produced the nutritive value in that food. We actually know.
Right. And this leads us to something that you've said many times. There's this theory that animals are bad for the planet. So if you have them on the planet shorter, it's a more sustainable model. And that's based on a very sick system as the rule.
Yes.
It's ignoring the fact that animals grazed on a very healthy system. They're actually making the earth better every day they're on the planet, including with a climate change filter. And so if those animals are on earth another year longer, they've actually done more benefit. That is totally not in the conversation right now. And now what you're saying is, with these animals on the earth better, they're doing a benefit on earth for that extra day they're on earth, the extra year they're on earth. They're actually giving more nutrient-dense food.
Yes.
So
we're healthier as a result of them being on the earth longer.
And the water cycling's healthier.
Absolutely.
And the rural economy's healthier.
And the climate's healthier.
And the climate is healthier.
Yes.
So this is really crazy thinking for a lot of conventional folks right now.
Yeah, it is.
And a lot of industrial folks.
Yeah.
This is not what they're wanting to hear. Which is interesting to me, because if I was worried about climate change, this would be great news. And so that's where really I sort of drill down to folks. It's like, are you worried about climate change, or do you just want everyone to just be vegan? Like, I'm trying to figure that out. Are you just wanting everyone to stop eating meat because you find it abhorrent?
Right.
Listen, if the solutions to climate change that I was hunting for were growing mushrooms, which actually probably is something, but I wasn't looking for a meat-eating solution because I want to feel better about eating meat. I wasn't looking for that. I was looking for a solution. And when I met you and came to your farm down the way in Starkville, and then went to go see Neil Dennis up in Saskatchewan, then see Gabe in North Dakota, the land was just better.
Yeah.
I didn't know why.
Right.
But I felt better.
Yep.
So what I want to know is, what more information are we going to be able to measure as to physically why I feel better?
Yep.
Right? Like, why do I feel better on your land than your neighbors when you're doing the regenerative grazing?
Well,
Why?
if you're eating foods, first and foremost, if you're eating foods that aren't inflaming your body,
Right?
you're going to feel better. And you're going to feel better right away.
But I mean, not even eating. I'm just talking breathing.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, what's in the air when nature's thriving that makes me feel better?
Yep.
And it does.
It does. I would wholeheartedly agree with that.
I don't know why yet.
Yep. But it's true.
Yeah.
And so what we have found is that there are radical differences. So animals that are on what is called a TMR diet, total mixed ration diet, which is your typical diet of animals in a confinement situation, whether we're talking about beef cattle in a feedlot, dairy cattle.
That's all the stuff in the trough they pour in.
Right.
Yep.
Dairy cattle, or, pigs produced commercially, chickens produced commercially, eggs produced commercially. They're all on what is called a TMR diet.
Right.
And that is, nutritionists or scientists thinking we know enough to be able to formulate a ration that meets all their nutritional requirements.
Right.
So when we do the direct comparison of animals eating these phytonutrient-rich diets out of very healthy, biologically active soils, compared to animals that are in a much more confinement situation and eating a TMR diet, the differences are staggering. And it doesn't matter whether it's beef, whether it's pork, whether it's chicken, whether it's eggs, or whether it's dairy. It does not matter. We're seeing the same magnitude of differences. And when we look at those differences, they're anywhere from 150% to more than 400% better in the animals that are eating the phytonutrient-rich diet.
What's better? What's the percentage? What are you measuring there?
Everything. So from the entire array of hundreds of phytonutrients that are being measured, that are, again, antioxidant.
In the meat itself.
In the meat itself, in the egg, in the milk, whatever.
So even though it's meat, because the animal ate plants, the plant's nutrients are in the meat.
Are in the meat,
So
and in the fat of the meat.
Thus the phytonutrient.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
So the phytonutrient is literally in the eggs that we're eating, in the meat that we're eating, or in the milk that we're drinking. They're all there. And again, they're antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, anti-obesity. Why would we not want that? Why would we not want to consume more of those types of nutrients?
Right. So it's not like it's grass-finished beef is less bad for you, but it's still red meat. You're saying it's actually good for you.
I'm saying it's a genuine health food.
Right.
And again, when we look at things like omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acid profile,
Yep.
we look at available omega-3s, all of that, it's actually every bit as healthy, if not healthier, than wild-caught salmon and tuna and things like that.
Wow.
And that's something you can eat every day. So if I can get a far better omega-3, CLAs, omega-6 to 3 profile in my diet, and I can do that daily, day in and day out, that's lifelong. And health is a lifelong cumulative effect.
So we're at the frontier of these measurements right now. So this is the beginning of this conversation.
Yes.
So every day I'm alive on this earth, I'm wanting to be talking with you, right? So we're going to have the last, it won't even be called a podcast when we finish these conversations, Alllen. We're going to be wheeled out and we're going to have chips and we're going to be like nodding at each other and it's going to be transcribing it. But this is the beginning of a conversation. Let's remember this conversation.
Absolutely.
This is phenomenal. And
it's paradigm shifting.
Yeah.
Okay, this truly is. This will make a profound difference in everything we do in agriculture and in consumers' ability and knowledge to be able to buy foods that are truly, genuinely healthy. And again, here's the beautiful thing about this, is that we have also discovered that these foods that are phytonutrient rich taste far better.
right.
So we get it all. We can have our cake and eat it too.
But that's nature being really kind.
It is.
Making good food taste
Yes.
good.
So it goes back to your friend that said, I can't understand it or explain it, but why did food taste better decades ago than it does now? That's because it really did taste better decades ago than it did now, because it was far more nutrient dense then than it is now.
That's just a taste of the conversations we'll have in season 1 of The Peter Byck Show.